Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. Good to see you all. So today we're just going to be continuing on with some enchantment work that we started yesterday. I actually did a bunch of stuff in the evening as well. I refactored a ton of stuff. I'll get into all that in a second, but before we get into it, I want to remind everyone that Alchemortis is available for wishlisting. So it's a dark fantasy roguelite auto battler. So definitely check that out if you're interested. Wishlist it. That would greatly help me out. And also I have the Patreon set up, which you can check out if you're interested. If you subscribe at the top tier for at least 1 month, I will send you an Alchemortis Steam key when the game launches, and your name will also be listed in the in-game Alchemortis credits. And in addition to those things, I also have my Udemy courses. These will teach you how to build complete games in the Godot engine. So yeah, those are all the ways that you could support me. Check those out. Those links are in the description below. You can also join the Discord, which is linked below as well. And yeah, let's get into it. Hello, Clickertail. Welcome back. Kenyaz, good to see you. We necromance today. Yeah. Hello, Neozoid, lurking. All right, so yesterday I was working on new enchants, and somebody came up with the idea of making an enchant that changes all abilities to be global instead of having their own little query rules. So basically, like, you have an ability that targets adjacent minions or whatever. Well, the enchant can make it target all minions on the board. And that was, I think, going to be... What am I looking for? That was, I think, going to be very difficult, but I actually found a solution for that yesterday. So I actually have that in the game now. And let me see, what's the easiest way to show this? So basically, project, let's see, project settings. Let me put the incense in here. Okay, we do have incense. Let me just do another skeleton warrior. Okay. Global query enchant is what it's called. Enchant configuration. Global query enchant. Okay. So this enchantment now changes any ability that has sort of like a query parameter to target the whole board. So if I look at this, you can see that this incense, this says reduces remaining turns of adjacent allied minion cards by 3. But you can see that it's highlighting all of these minions and it's highlighting the whole board when I hover over it. And that's because it has this global. All abilities affect and are affected by the entire board. So there you go. The incense will now reduce the turn cooldown of any minion on the board rather than just adjacent minions. So that ended up being a lot easier than I thought it was going to be from a technical standpoint, which is good. But yeah, that is a very interesting enchant. I think that's going to be great. Hello, Shirley. Thank you for the $10. Hi from Charlotte. I hope your morning is going well so far. Always good to see you, Shirley. Thank you again. Good morning, Ninja Link. Good morning. Hello, Rin. Welcome back. Good to see you. Okay, so... Oh, man. So that global query enchant, the way that I did this is I have new modify query options virtual method on the base enchant here. And basically this just gets called, this modified query options. This gets called on the base card here, so it just iterates over all the enchants, but it duplicates the query options first. So that way it doesn't change the query options that are on the card. Because if we ever removed the enchantment, we wouldn't want to make permanent changes to a card's query option. So we need to be working with a copy. So that creates a copy. It modifies every enchant that's supposed to modify it. And then this is called inside of this little extension method here. And I realized that all of my board querying ultimately runs through this this code right here, which is very interesting. So I was able to just put that get modified query options in here, and that's it. So this is all safe too. So if the base card is not present in the execution context, then it will just use the queryables, query options, but duplicate it, all that good stuff. So what's your plan this end of year? I don't have any plans necessarily. Just hanging out, spend time with family. You got a bottle of sparkling cider, very nice. Hello, Courier Games, welcome. Good to see you. So I thought it would be fun to do another enchant that is the same kind of thing. Oh, this is gonna be... Wait a minute. I might be running into another problem already. Wait a minute. Did I break something? I may have broken something. I may have broken something. No 2026 resolution. My 2026 resolution is to release Alka Mortis. Oh, okay. I was confusing myself. 2026 resolution, same as 2025 for me. Release video game. Very nice. This will be the year I put a game on Steam, or at least a demo. There you go. That's great. Okay, so yeah, I thought it would be interesting to do this. So we're going to do another enchant that will increase the number of cards that it affects by 1. So I don't know exactly how I'm going to do this. Soft release date for Alka Mortis 26, yeah. Well, that was always the plan, inshallah. So yeah, I want to add another enchant that increases the number of targets that an ability can hit by 1. But I'm trying to figure out how to actually do that. I think what I need to do is go into the base. Well, there's modify query options. I don't know if this is right. Oh, there goes the cat running his mouth. What? Okay, I get it. I get it. So the problem here is this get modified query options. If I want to limit the number of targets, I think I actually need to do it. Oh shoot, this is going to be bad. So there's a little bit of a weird thing here. So I have the ability to, in the query options here, I have the ability to specify a limit for how many cards are returned from the query. So that is something that this new enchant I would want to do would affect. However, there's an oddity here, which is that the query target provider, which kind of just runs the query and then returns the cards from that query, this has options final order by random and final to take. And the reason why these are here is because sometimes I want to select a random card, and I don't necessarily want my core query system to support random sorting. I want it to be entirely predictable. So that's why I do the random sorting out here. So if this final order by random is true, it will take the result of the query and then it will just shuffle that array basically. And then if this final to take is greater than -1, it will take up to that amount. So it's basically another limit, right? The reason why I can't use the limit that's available in this query options is because let's say that I want to take one random card, right? Well, I can't pass a limit into the query options of 1 because it will only return 1 card, but there could be 5 candidate cards, right? So I can't do that. And I need to take the card after I've shuffled the result, right? So I basically need to get all of the candidate cards and then shuffle them and then take the first n number of cards, the first final to take amount of cards. So the problem is if I want to do an enchant that increases the number of cards that are affected by a query by 1, I think I would need to change both of these, the final to take and also the query options limit. So I don't know if that's going to be a problem. I'm just wondering how those two things work together. I don't think I'm ever using a limit with that final to take at the same time. So yeah, I think that should be doable. The problem though is that this modify query options, this takes a query options here. But I need to modify the query target provider. So what I might do instead is I'm going to make this easy on myself. Public virtual query target provider. Modify query target provider. Actually, this should just be void. I shouldn't have to return anything. Okay, so we'll just do that. And then in my base card here, get modified query options. Oh shoot, wait, this is not going to work either. Oh no. This is not going to work. All right, we need a different approach to this. This is not going to work. This is not going to work. Okay, we're gonna have to think about this a little bit, but that's all right. I want at least 80% greenness density on GitHub. Sorry, Corny, my new resolution will be 5120 by 2880. Oh my gosh. You have like 50% greenness now? Very nice. We're getting into trouble already. Yeah, we are. So the problem again is that I can't necessarily modify this query target provider directly because I can't just change the properties of an object that may have a long-lived reference or may be used several times. So I need some kind of way of modifying the internal behavior of this query target provider based on an enchant. The problem is my abilities are like super agnostic, so they don't have any data about like what card they belong to. It's very like top-down waterfall, so like the base card pushes everything into the card abilities, all the information that they need, and all of that information is very transient. It's not, it's not anything that the abilities are going to be referencing after execute is called, basically, which is working really well because it's keeping everything very clean. But then I get into these situations here where I need to modify this final to take number here in the query target provider, and I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that without causing some side effects here. So, let's do a little bit of thinking with the noggin here. Let's do a little bit of thinking with the noggin. So there is one school of thought There's one school of thought here where I could move these, I could get rid of this final to take here, and I could move this order by random into the query options itself. And then inside of my base, my actual query method here, what I could do is if the order by random is there, I could throw an order by random right here. Then I can get rid of this final to take and just use the limit. And then I wouldn't even need to do any of these things either. Is that going to be appropriate? So that would definitely fix my problem. The question is, I don't know if I want to put the random sorting functionality in here. I'm trying to think. I mean, this is... Yeah, I mean, this is pretty straightforward. I may have had a different... I'm trying to think. Why did I split this out? Final order by random out of the query options. I think because I may have had some additional like filtering functionality, which happened outside of this. This count func query count. Is this query count ever used? Okay, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think I'll move these things into the query options here. Is this count func ever used? What's going on here? Oh. Interesting. Okay, anyway. So yeah, let's just do that. I think that's going to be okay. So let's do public bool order by random. Then we'll go up here to the query functionality. If query options dot order by random result is equal to result dot order by Matthew till RNG dot rand f. And then in here we have that limit coming into play here. So that should work just fine. Okay, we're gonna need to change it several places in the code though, but that's okay. So one benefit of this is now I don't need to maintain this final to take and limit at the same time. Get rid of this final order by random. All this stuff goes away here. And I think we can just do return. Do I even need this anymore? iBoard queryable. I literally don't even need this anymore either. Okay, well that's easy. What's this greenness stuff? It's like a little visual on GitHub that shows you your commit history. Couldn't you add the execution context? I feels like that would be a good place to have that sort of thing. Couldn't I add it to the execution context? No, I cannot, because the query options let me think. Oh yeah, I suppose I could have done... No, I can't do that. So the fundamental problem was I wasn't able to change the query target provider with an enchant without having side effects. That was the main problem. It wasn't a matter of getting data to where it needs to be necessarily. It was a question of how do I change the data in this query target provider safely. And the problem was that this previous method that I had here, query board with final filter, this, I guess this does have the execution context. So I guess in theory, what I could have done is I could have done execution context.base card dot get modified final to take or whatever. I suppose that could have worked. But now this is kind of like a weird pattern as well, because now I've got a very specific card ability, which is this query target provider, that needs to reach out to the base card to find out information, which is fine. I mean, that is a way to do it, but that just feels backwards. So I think the way that I'm doing it here now is a little bit better. Anyway, so I don't even need that anymore, I don't think. I think this is going to dramatically simplify everything anyway, so this is going to be good. We don't need this card limit anymore. We don't need this is random anymore. Okay, because this now becomes, we'll just do limit not equal to null. Okay. Order by random. Okay, that should fix that. Okay, I think that's good. But now I have to fix all those issues where that's being used. Oh boy, we got to go through all these. That's okay. Config.queryOptions.limit is equal to 1. Query options order by random. Okay. Oh no, don't tell me. No, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Okay, anyway. Moving on. Come on, Copilot, you know what I want to do. You can read my mind. You've got all my data, come on. Give me what I'm looking for, there we go. So this should greatly simplify things, since I don't really have, again, that was an issue of having like a parallel system. I don't remember exactly why I did it that way. I think there was a good reason, but maybe that reason's no longer good after stuff has changed. Change that. Order by random, limit. Okay. Okay. Order by random equals true. Limit is equal to base random. Oops. Can I mark? I forgot. Can I mark things as not null? Whatever, I'll just do that. It's fine. Okay. Cool. Let's see. Almost done. I would never be able to concentrate for that long. Why do you not take tea breaks every 15 minutes? This is America. We don't drink tea. We drink Mountain Dew. Query board helper order, or no, query options order by random. Query options dot limit. People used to start wars over tea. Yeah, that's true. This is riveting gameplay right here. Riveting. This is one of the things that I like most about using a statically typed language or a compiled language like C#, is that when you make a refactor or when you do a refactor, the code will just tell you all the places that need to be updated, which is great. You can have total confidence that you're getting every location. Query options dot order by random equals true. Okay. Let me just make sure that that works. I'm going to add bell. So that simplifies things quite a lot. That simplifies things quite a lot. Resets the cooldown of 2 random enemy minion cards. Well, I don't have 2 random enemy minions. Oh, 2 random enemy cards, okay. Oh, also, I need to look where... what am I doing? Query options... board inventory component. What? Query options here. I need to look at where this to query string is being called. Ah. Never mind. It's already good. I could have sworn... Anyway, we're good. Let's just see if this bell works. Oh, it doesn't appear to be... It does not appear to be working. Oh, it might be because they have the same turn cooldown. Let's see this. Training dummy. Let's just move this up. 15. It may be because they execute it on the same turn every time. So before we declare that there's a bug here, let me just make sure this works. Long before the Boston Tea Party as well, yeah. If you tried writing that code in TypeScript or whatever you meant, you would get like stable 5 frames per second. Actually, WebGPU is blazingly fast. Okay, it is working. Okay, so that is great. That greatly simplifies everything. So the whole point of doing that, so light refactor to support a new enchant. So the whole point of doing that now is because I can do this new enchantment. So let's do global query enchant, create a new file. We're going to call this query limit enchant.cs. Query limit limit enchant any ability which targets a limited, which has a target limit increase. How do I word this? Any ability which has a target limit is have its target limit added to 1. Okay, we'll do that. What are you doing? What are you growling at? What are you growling at? Okay. Hello, Snot Bill. Good morning to you. Welcome, welcome. With the message yummers. Hello, sorry. Good morning. Nice animation on the attack thing. Thank you. Good morning, Blair William. I'll have to figure out what to do with this language here, but for this modify query options here, what we're going to do is we're going to say if query options dot limit is equal to null, or query options dot limit dot value is less than or equal to 0. Well, I guess let's just do less than 0. Honey, what are you doing? What are you gruffing at? What are you gruffing at? Here. I don't know what you're gruffing at, buddy. What are you doing? Anyway, so we're going to return query options. Otherwise, we're going to do query options dot limit plus equals 1 and return query options. How does that work if it's null? Oh, I'm already returning if it's null. Okay, never mind. I don't need to worry about that. Okay, so query limit enchant. Cool, cool, cool. So now let's go ahead and check that out. So close others. I'm trying to think. I think the bell actually is one such card. Let me actually look at this right now. So the bell has, the bell has 2 random enemy minion cards, or random enemy cards. I keep reading minion into that. So 2 random enemy cards. Let's go ahead and add the new enchant there. Populate player cards. New query limit enchant. Okay, so we've got the query limit enchant. So we'll see if that number goes up to 3 now. I've thought of this as enchant yesterday, but what if you sell a card, it will randomly sell another card, but the other card that was sold gives 2 to 3 times more blood than normal? Yeah, something like that could be interesting. Like you sacrifice another card. Okay, here's the problem. I don't actually have a way to test this. So I'm going to get rid of the increment tier here. Project settings, we're going to turn off generate test map and training dummy. We'll go see if we can find an enemy board that I can actually test this against. Okay. Well, this says resets the cooldown of 1 random enemy card. So now I could just see if it affects both cards with that enchant on. Skip this. So it should be affecting both cards. It does. Okay. It does. Very nice. So now I need to actually figure out some good language for this. Abilities with target limits have their target limit increased by 1. I don't know if that's entirely clear. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what good language for this. Abilities with target limits. I mean, I could simplify it. I could just say ability target limits are increased by 1. I could do something like that. Maybe that will work. Good. Anyway, let's see. Ability target limits are increased by 1. Now it doesn't update the description, which may be a little bit unfortunate, but I wonder if I could fix that. Could I fix that? Well, we won't worry about that for now. That's not something that needs to be done for the playtest, I don't think. But I think it's working. That's the most important part. Make sure this works still. Okay. All right, I think that's good. So let's take a gander at some of these other enchants we got. So we got that one. Convert all fire to healing. That would be a good one. I think I want to do that one. So we'll do convert all fire to healing. That should be easy. Increase duration of paralyze effects. When this card becomes exhausted, exhaust one random enemy card. So these two are going to be a little bit interesting. I'm going to need to build some code to support that. But let's do this convert all fire to healing first. That one should be relatively easy, I think, because I already have a pattern in place for that specific conversion. So let's do new convert fire to healing enchant CS. Oh, you know what enchant configuration. I forgot to add this to the loot table. Add item, new query limit enchant. Do I have all of these things? Let's see. Okay, I think everything is here. Convert damage to bleed. Enchant, convert damage to shield enchant. Okay, we're actually getting quite a few enchantments in the game already, which is great. But I really like this because I can just keep adding new content to all these systems. Convert fire to healing enchant. Okay. Ability modifier, ability magnitude modifier. If ability magnitude is fire, we're going to do new heal. Fire.get magnitude. We're going to do fire and heal. Converts all fire applied to oh, wait a minute. Is this going to work? I think, wait a minute. I think this is okay. Ability magnitude modifier. Ability modifier. Modifier abilities. Okay. I think the thing that I'm confused about is all these conversion abilities. Like, okay, so let's say that you apply fire to the enemy, right? And it's supposed to be converted to heal. It's obviously supposed to be converted to a self-heal, right? But there are situations where you could apply fire to yourself. Should that just be converted to a self-heal as well? Like, do I need to, in other words, no, I think that makes sense. We just convert it to a self-heal or something. Because I was thinking, you know, imagine you do damage to yourself when damage is usually done to the enemy, and you convert all damage to shielding. So if you deal damage to the enemy, should your damage be converted to self-shielding? I think the answer is yes. But then if you deal damage to yourself, should the shielding apply to the enemy? I don't think that makes sense. So I think I'm just overthinking it. So we're basically just taking any application of fire. It doesn't matter what the target is, as long as it's coming from this card, and we're going to convert it to a heal. I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense. I don't know. Loot table dot add item. Okay. Well, let's see what happens. Project settings, candle, and then we need to go to the run manager. Convert fire to healing. Let's take a look. Give me 1 second here. All right, see you, Rin. Thanks for joining. And I hope, if I don't see you, I hope you have a great new year. And yeah, hope to see you in a future stream. Okay. Converts all fire applied to heal. Okay, we'll put that on there. Let's go check it out. . Oops, I went to the wrong one. All right, let's see if this works. Come on. Oh, it did heal me. Good. Okay, that works. That's pretty straightforward. I didn't think that one was going to be terribly difficult because I already have that support for that stuff, so it's very easy to do. Okay, add, convert fire to healing, enchant. So now we've got some new interesting enchants over here. Increased duration of paralyze effects. I think I actually have a pattern for that as well. Let's see. Yeah, poison modifier. So let me just check something though. No, actually this is fine. Yeah, this is good. Oh, I need to remove this eyeboard queryable from this paralysis here. That's not good. Increases the duration of paralysis, but okay. Let's do that. So I think I'm basically actually gonna just copy that and then go here, new file, paralysis duration, enchant.cs, paralysis duration enchant. In here, ability magnitude modifier. If ability magnitude is paralysis, then we're going to do new paralysis. We need to get the duration. So the duration is the magnitude there. The max targets. We are going to need the max targets here. I should redo this. Yeah, I should redo this. The way that I originally designed these abilities is that any ability that could target something was supposed to implement this eyeboard queryable interface, and then that would provide a couple of methods for querying. But I've since moved on to, instead of having each ability that needs to target something implement the querying logic, I've since moved to the query target provider, which is basically just a container for these query options, and it can execute those queries and then do, return your result for you. So the pattern that I've been moving to is that anything that needs to target something is basically going to need to have a reference to an iTarget provider, which the query target provider is. And then it will just get the targets that it's looking for from the target provider. And then I can keep all of my paralysis code here very clean and very focused on just applying the paralysis. But even this, actually this entire thing can go away, to be honest, because I have another thing, which is a buff applicator, which takes a query target provider and a buff that you want to apply to the targets, or a debuff that you want to apply to the targets, and it just works. So I actually don't necessarily want this here, although the problem here is that I probably do want this to be a class. So this runs into another problem that I was having last night. So I changed the booster configuration so that way I can have certain ability types inside of the boosters. So I can filter the cards that are picked from the loot table by what types of abilities they have. The problem is that for buffs and debuffs, those don't have, I've been moving away from those having individual abilities. So they're all driven by like a buff applicator instead. But what that does is that makes me unable, at least with this current setup, to say that I want paralysis cards to be a valid booster filtering type, right? And I had this problem last night with blind. I can't currently support a booster configuration offering cards that have blind abilities because there is no blind ability. The blinding is all done by a buff applicator putting the blind debuff on the card, which is a slightly different thing that's not as easy to filter on. So it's almost as if I need a different way of doing this ability filtering. The thing that I don't want to do is put like a property on every kind of card ability that says what type of ability it is, just for filtering purposes. I don't really want to do that. I think what I may... Where is this used? What I may have to do is I could put, I could have like an enum of ability types. And then what I could do is I could write a function that can tell me whether a given ability is of a certain type. And for the most part, that would be relatively straightforward. But for anything like if I want a paralysis type, I would have to look for a buff applicator that applies paralysis. The problem there, though, is that the buff applicator, it actually uses a buff factory function. So it creates a new buff every time this is called. I guess there wouldn't necessarily be a problem with just invoking this to check the type that it returns. It's a little bit wasteful, but I don't think, maybe that's not, don't need to worry about that. Anyway, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but point being, I want to rework this, but that's going to break my ability to support paralysis types in the booster configuration without me changing how this works. But I think it needs to be changed anyway. This is definitely not going to work. So I think what I'll go ahead and do is I'll just break the paralysis for the booster for now. And then I'll make a note that I need to change how the booster filtering works. So booster card picking works to support buff, debuff cards like paralysis and blind. So that will have to be done. But anyway, what I'm going to do here... Oh, there's so many paralysis. Ugh, gosh. I don't make this easy. I don't make this easy. Oh, wait a minute. Here's another problem, though. Maybe I do need to keep this. Shoot, this is going to be a little bit tricky, actually. Because I need to be able to modify the magnitude of the paralysis, but if the paralysis is just nested within... If the paralysis is just nested within a buff applicator, then I'm not going to be able to like actually change it. So I actually almost do need like this wrapper class for that functionality. I actually don't know what to do about this. Kind of in a pickle. Kind of in a pickle. Oh no. Okay, well, I think I have it. I think I do need to keep it as a class because I need it to extend eye ability magnitude so that I can actually change the magnitude of the duration. The problem is that I do need to actually like duplicate the ability. I actually do need to create a new ability instance. So that means that anything that's all of the paralysis configuration needs to carry over into the new object. What I could potentially do, I actually don't remember. Where is this set magnitude being called? Dynamic magnitude ability. Oh no. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and start breaking stuff, and then we'll figure out how to solve the problems as they come up. There are going to be a lot of problems with this that need to be addressed, but I know for sure that I want to get rid of this iBoard queryable, so that needs to go away, and I guess we'll just go from there. Okay, well, we got to take an axe to this code here, but I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and when I come back, we will start breaking things. So I'll be right back. All right, let's go ahead and do some surgery here. Hello, Nicholas Dev. Welcome. Good to see you again. When I'm back, I'll start breaking this down. The pathos of programming, given a common sarcastic joke, truly peak of comedic remarks. Okay. Anyway, so we're going to get rid of this iBoard queryable, which means that these query options go away. Like so. This execute here. I'm trying to think, do I... I would really like for this to use the buff applicator, but I just don't know if that's going to be possible. Man, I don't know how to make this work. Yeah, I have no idea how to make this work. This is gonna be rough. We don't need this. Get rid of that. Does this need to be an iTarget provider? Yes. Okay. So iTarget provider in here, we're going to need to do int duration. We're going to get rid of this max targets because that's going to go away. Okay. Private read-only query options. Query options. Oh no, sorry. Query target provider. This query target provider equals query target provider. Result is equal to get targets. Query target provider, get targets context. For each of our target in results. Rename that to cards. Okay. I may need to introduce another sort of interface here. I'm trying to think. So I don't know. I ultimately want this to be applied by the buff applicator because I want my buffs and debuffs to all behave the same way. But the problem is if I make it go through the buff applicator alone, then I don't have the ability to modify the magnitude. Because the buffs are not abilities, they are buffs and debuffs. They're a totally different thing. The ability, so the paralysis ability would be the thing that's responsible for applying the debuff. So this is the ability that gets executed by the card. Its execution logic says apply a new paralysis debuff with the given magnitude, right? I want to move that to the buff applicator, but then that kind of puts the ability to do this I ability magnitude out of reach. So what I might need to do is I might need to do something like an I buff or something, I buff provider, something like that, which can return the paralysis debuff. Then I can create a wrapper, or I can use that to create these wrapper classes, which can then have their ability magnitudes modified and pass those down to the buffs and debuffs. That may be the way that I need to do it. Let me just make a note for that. So let's just do like a to-do, use I buff provider, use I buff provider so that buff, debuff abilities can implement I ability magnitude. I think that's what I would probably need to do, but yeah, we'll see. Anyway, so that should work. However, now we're going to end up with this problem here. Can I duplicate these things? Paralysis dot, I cannot. Oh, why is this so difficult? Okay, well, I guess what I have to do is I have to do this. We have the duration here. Oh, this is bad. I don't like this. Actually, I guess I don't need that. Okay. That's fine. Get targets, query target provider, get, I think I want get targets. I want get cached targets there. Okay. Okay. We're getting closer at least, I think. Anyway, that's going to break a bunch of things, so I should probably go and fix those. But duration is increased by, let's do 3. Okay. So that enchant should be basically done. Paralysis modifier, but now we got to fix all the places that I broke. And we're gonna have to see if this is worth it. We're gonna have to see if this is worth it. I think I'm gradually moving into the right setup here, but yeah, just lots of stuff to work on. Okay, now I gotta look at my paralysis here. I basically need these. And then I think I also need to do an order by random. Oh, I need a limit as well. A max targets, duration, and max targets. Query target provider dot query options dot limit is equal to max targets. Query target provider, and then duration. We want to do query target provider tag filter card tag minion to query target provider dot to query string. Okay, so we've got the paralysis there. Scalar. Okay. And then we need to pass in the query target provider here. Okay, but there's going to be more issues. Oh, maybe not. Is that the only place where I'm using this paralysis, really? That is very suspicious. Oh, I guess that's... Oh, okay. Well, that's nice. So I only needed to change it in one place. Now we got to try to find something with paralysis. I think Medusa head. And let's put that enchant on it. Paralysis duration enchant. So run manager. Paralysis duration enchant. And let's also go to the enchant configuration. Loot table.add item. New paralysis duration enchant. 5. Okay. Let's see what happens. Applied paralysis duration is increased by 3. So this should be 7 turns of paralysis to 2 enemy minion cards. Oh, did I not do the order by random? Yeah. Okay, anyway, it should still work. It just needs to have order by random on there. Okay, let's go here. Let's see if this Medusa head does work. So this should be paralyzed for 4 turns remaining. That didn't work. Is there a reason why that didn't work? Give me 1 second here. Yeah, I don't know why that didn't work. If ability magnitude is paralysis, paralysis, paralysis dot get magnitude plus 3. Duration, magnitude. Yeah, I don't know why that didn't work. Well, I guess what we could do is we can put a breakpoint here and see what happens. Let's see what happens, I suppose. Oh, it's just not even working. Oh, I never what? How did this happen? Public override base composed ability, get composed abilities. I forgot to override that. Okay, that's why that's not working. Okay, let's try it again. Let's go ahead and try it again. I think this will work this time. Yeah, 7 turns remaining. Okay, that worked. Okay. That was quite a doozy. That was quite a doozy. So unfortunately, I think what I'm going to need to do is move all of my buffs and debuffs to a different implementation style here, because I need to be able to modify the buff and debuff applications, like the ability magnitude here. And so yeah, I think what I'm going to need to do is basically what this to-do list says. I need to create an iBuff provider, and then in my buff applicator, instead of passing in this buff factory here, I think what I would do instead is I would have this be an iBuff provider here. So I'd take a query provider, an iBuff provider, and then in here what I would do is I would implement that, return a new instance of the debuff or buff that I'm trying to apply. I think that makes sense. Does it make sense though? Yeah, the fundamental problem is that I just need a way of being able to intercept the magnitude and modify it with something like this ability magnitude modifier. Oh man, I really don't know how this is going to work. I may have gotten myself into a bad situation here. I may have gotten myself into a very bad situation. Well, I'm going to need to think on that. The most important thing is that this is working. But I definitely need to figure that out. Anyway. All right, we'll just call this good for now. Add paralysis duration. I might need to take a totally different approach to how the buffs and debuffs work. Yeah, I don't know. That's something I'm gonna have to noodle on a little bit. Is working with a huge code base like mentally juggling? I don't think it's necessarily the size of the code base that matters. If a code base is very large, but the systems are properly modularized and isolated, then it doesn't really matter. Like, you could have a code base with 1 million lines of code, but if it's structured well, you should be able to easily find the place where you need to make changes or extend things. Obviously, the larger a code base is, the easier it is for things like side effects to happen in other parts of the system. But that's where like a proper, code architecture comes into play. Like, you ideally should be building a system that's very predictable, that has minimal or no side effects, so that like you can go in and change only the places that need to be changed, and then that can be that, right? So I think you could have a relatively small code base that is very hard to work with, where you have to do a lot of mental juggling because there's all kinds of random nonsense everywhere. And then you could have a very large code base that's very easy to work on because it's architected properly, right? So I don't think it's necessarily the size of the code base that matters. It's more about the sense of the code base that matters. Like, does it make sense or not? Looks like an OOP dead end, always annoying when the architecture doesn't accommodate the new stuff. I don't think it's an OOP dead end necessarily. I think it's a dead end for the way that I've built this with respect specifically to the buff and debuff applications. Because what I did is I just went ahead and I changed how the buffs are applied, but I didn't think to also build it in a way that supports intercepting the buff and modifying its strength before the buff gets applied. So that's the part, that was like an oversight on my part. And so now I have to figure out how to add support for that, which may involve unwinding some of the buff and debuff stuff that I did. But yeah, I'm kind of just like thinking in circles now, so I'm gonna worry about that later. But I will do this. I will write this down. Buffs, debuffs need to support potential modification via things like ability magnitude modifier. So all of these three things are basically related to each other. This is done. Okay, anyway. So I have this other enchant here. When this card becomes exhausted, exhaust one random enemy minion card. Or exhaust one, I keep putting enemy minion card in there. Exhaust one random enemy card. So that is going to also be very tricky to do because I don't think I necessarily have the concept of being able to react to buffs and debuffs that are applied. So that's going to require some work as well. I may be able to listen for eye ability execution listener. However, again, this is the problem, like the buff being applied is going to be exhausted debuff. That's not an ability, so yeah. That is also going to be very tricky to implement. I think what I should probably do before I do that one is I should probably figure out how I actually want my buffs and debuffs to be applied and get that all working properly. And then, yeah, the idea of like reacting to something that happens to the card, I don't think that's necessarily currently supported by my system, but I don't want to build that feature until I figure out how I'm doing the buffs and debuffs, because those two things are kind of related. Because there's a very good chance that I will build that reaction system wrong and need to redo it anyway if I redo how these buffs are applied. So I guess we'll just let that one be for now. We do have a number of good enchants already, so I think that's fine. But yeah, there's some code work to do here. So anyway, I'm going to say add new enchantments is done. We did add a bunch of new enchantments. So we've got this enchant configuration. I don't know how many we added. I think we added all of these. So however many that is, 8 or whatever it is, 6, 7. Anyway, let's see if we can find something else easy to work on. I'll be trashing OOP to my grave, yeah. Not because I have actual good reasons to hate it, but because I feel like hating it. That's funny. Alright, do we have anything interesting we can work on here? Update map tooltip to show add mini boss node. Improvements to combat log. Allow opening combat log after final boss. Blind enchant text. Oh, we can fix this. Let's fix the blind enchant text. I think that can be a UI fix here. So if I go to my enchant container here, this text here adds whatever to the thing. This description label here, oh, I know what the problem is. So one really annoying thing about Godot that I don't like is that control nodes don't have like a max width, which is really annoying because the setup that I have here, which I can change actually, but the setup that I have here is, or can I change it? So I've got a horizontal box here. Why is that not? Okay, anyway, I've got a HBox container here, and then I've got this enchantment icon there. So I've got the enchant indicator. Which is not outlined for some reason. Do I need this? I'm gonna delete that. Okay, anyway. But the problem is that as this description grows, I need to be able to auto wrap it word. However, the auto wrap mode in Godot does not work unless you have a custom minimum size defined. So I need to add a custom minimum size. So let's go ahead and do that, right? So I go here, custom minimum size. Let's just do like 128 or let's do 196. Now the problem here is that because this is an HBox container, this gets pushed off way over to the left. And even if I were to do something like try to center the text here, where is that? If I try to center the text, this icon is still floating out here. So basically the problem is that I have no way of having the icon always be just off to the left of the text. Now you might be thinking, oh, you could just put the icon. Let me copy this UID. You could just put the icon in here, right? Image equals that. And then we can do /image. Oh, did that not work? Why didn't that work? Is there a reason why that didn't work? Oh, because I did it wrong. There we go. So I could put the image in line with the rich text label, right? I could just do that. But now the problem is that if I do that and then I add auto wrapping, so I could do auto wrap mode word, and then I could put the custom minimum size back here, and then I could center it, right? I could do this, center. However, the problem now is that as this wraps, see, this is not aligned anymore. What I want this to be is I want this to be like a bullet point where like it's got the icon and then all the text should be aligned right here, right? But the auto wrap is going to push this underneath the icon and that looks really weird. So that's why I can't do that. So what I may do is I may just go ahead and try to do my own max width functionality and then turn on and off auto wrap based on the max width. So if I turn this off. So what I want to do is, yeah, how is that actually going to work? That's a good question. I'm going to move water belly just a little bit. So yeah, I might just need to do my own handling of that. So let's try it. If I do description label dot resized plus equals on description label resized. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to do private void on description label resized. If custom minimum size dot x is equal to 0, we're just going to return, or is greater than 0, return. Oh no, this needs to be description label custom minimum size dot x. Okay, if description label dot size dot x is greater than, let's just do like 192, then we're going to do description label dot custom minimum size is equal to new vector 2 192 0. Then we're also going to do description label dot word wrap text wrap. What is the property called? Auto wrap mode. Rich text label dot auto wrap. What? Auto wrap. Text server auto wrap mode word. Well, we'll try that. See if that works. We will see if that works. Okay, so now let's go to the enchant configuration. This was the problematic one, this fire mist chance debuff. So we'll just grab 3 of those. Okay, let's go to my event type. Enchant is what? 4? What happened to number 3? Guess I don't have 3 in here. I can't change these numbers either because these are tied to resources in the game or in the file system here. So if I go to my event configuration, these have the event type in here, which just gets serialized to an int under the hood. So if I were to change these to reorder them or whatever, it would break all my resources. So I don't want to do that. So we'll just leave it. It's fine. I'm missing a 3, I guess. I'm missing 3. Anyway, 4, generate test map. Every once in a while I get a sudden urge to hate on something and never forgive it. Hello, Evan. Welcome back. Tomorrow's the end of 2025. Yes, it is. Just to think the last day of this year is tomorrow. I know. And here's another thing to say. We are a quarter of the way through this century. It's very interesting. That's how math works. Okay. Applies 10% blind to enemy cards if this card applies fire. Oh, the other problem. Oh, shoot. Yeah, that solution doesn't work either. Because of this text wrapping. It's going to be off center no matter what I do. See? So I basically have no way of moving it to a new line and also shifting the icon, the enchant icon over. You know what? Do I even need the icon? If this icon is complicating things, I wonder if I just get rid of the icon. Maybe I just don't need the icon because that fixes it. And then the wrapping is fixed there. However, I might turn this down. This auto wrap. Const int max width is equal to 164. Max width. Somebody stole 3. Is there a way to insert 3 into the data without everything else breaking? Yeah, I can add 3. I can add new entries. So the problem though is that if I look at my if you look at the resource file, the text here, do you see the event type here? This is an enum, but it has 9. It's serialized to 9 here. So if I were to go to my event type here and I were to change artifact to something like 50 or whatever, that would break. Or if I were to swap these, if I were to swap booster to 9 and artifact to 8, then those would be swapped in the data because it's not using like a string or any other kind of unique identifier. It's just using a number. So the numbers have to remain consistent. Now I can add a 3 in here. Like if I were to add a new event type, I could add it here and have 3. And that would be totally fine because there's nothing that's currently referencing 3. I just can't change any of the existing numbers here without breaking anything. That's all. Yeah, I mean, I can go in and I can correct. I mean, it's not like it's a big problem. You know, it's not like, you know, it's not the end of the world if I need to go in here and just reconfigure all these event types. That's definitely not a problem. It's just the only reason to redo all these numbers is for like being very perfectionist and particular and like all these numbers need to be correct. But in the end of the day, it's just data. It's just a number that corresponds to an event type. The number doesn't mean anything, so it doesn't need to change. So yeah, I think, what do you guys think? Is it okay to remove that icon? Because that simplifies things and it makes it a lot nicer, a lot easier to read when it wraps. I think that looks fine. That icon was just making the layout completely unworkable. But without the icon, now the text looks fine. That's fine, yeah. Looks good without the icon. Okay, good. Thank you. What font are you using? Good question. I think it's called Soft Square. Let me look. Fonts. Yeah, Soft Square is the main pixel font. And then I'm also using Grandeur 8H for titles. And I'm using Voice 7H for the damage numbers, which I actually may change. I don't like using 3 fonts, but I think it's fine. The icon in the inspector is all that really matters anyway. Yeah. How do you create outlines? When I try to add outlines, they look weird. On the text? Yeah, text outlines are a little bit weird in Godot. But I think all I did was I've got font color, font outline color, and font shadow color. And then the outline size is set to 2. But that's all I did. I just used the font outline stuff. It does look weird, I agree. For some reason, Godot doesn't do font highlighting very well. Although or font outlining, I think they did make improvements to it though in 4.5, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're not on 4.5, maybe upgrade to that and see. But yeah, they do look weird generally speaking. Okay. Fix wrapping of enchant preview text. Okay, that one has been bothering me for a long time. It's now fixed. It's now fixed. Okay, I still have some time here. So here's what I'm going to do. Let me take care of something real quick on my phonular device. And then we will do a play test and see how all of this stuff is feeling with all the new content that I've added. Okay. Let's do this. So I got to turn off all my debug stuff. I don't know why this enabled test player cards got moved to the bottom here. Actually, I'll show you a quick trick before we do this. I think what you can do, I did this earlier. You can go to your project Godot file, any custom properties you have if you want to change the order. You can actually just go ahead and open up the project file. And then you can change the order of these things. So I've got my test player cards here. I want this debug flag to be right here above the test player cards list. So I put that there. Let's stage it and then open Godot back up. Godot doesn't like it when you edit the project file while the editor's open, so that's why I closed it. But now if I go to my project settings, debug, yep, enable test player cards is now right above that option. I honestly don't know how it got moved to the bottom, but Now I can just toggle those things together. And what I could do if I really wanted to is I could break this up into more subsections. I could have like debug cards, debug whatever, but it's fine. Okay. Generate test map off. All right, let's do a play test and see what happens. Contains paralysis and minion cards, contains fire and weapon cards, contains damage and relic cards. Well, we'll just go with the free one for now. Paralysis, jellyfish, and a nautilus cup. Heal 5 per allied alchemical card on the top edge of the board. Apply 1 poison for each time heal is applied since last execution. Interesting. That jellyfish is actually pretty strong. I might go ahead and actually use that jellyfish right now. Yeah. That should make these first couple of combats pretty straightforward here, I think. Yeah. Get wrecked, mice. Oh, am I gonna get wrecked? Nope. Okay. Increase board size. I wasn't really thinking about this, but I guess I'll do this. This art is in progress. I need to redo this, so don't judge me. And now I'm in the eyeball area. I mean, this is not in the area, so I could go there and maybe go there, but the problem is if the eyeball decides to go this way, I'll be screwed. So I'll go this way. I actually need to put some more damage on my board. Yikes, I'm gonna die. Okay. That was not fun. Get rid of the zombie. Resurrect. Maybe we'll try some alchemy. See if this works. Deal 4 damage. Heal 5 per allied alchemical card. Is this alchemical? It is. Shoot. But this is not on the top of the board. Deal 4 damage. Apply 1 poison. Take this guy, replace him here. That's not going to do anything. I'm going to lose. Am I already going to lose? Really? Oh no. I already lost. Unless... Can I get away with 17 health here? Dang it. Okay, I guess I already lost. Let's try again. Goodness. I don't remember exactly, but there was a way to change some configuration on the font that makes the blurry outlines disappear. Sort of like when you import pixel art and set filter to nearest. So I'm not exactly sure, but you can open up the font file here. And then what I usually do for my pixel fonts is I turn anti-aliasing off here. I do... What else do I do? Get rid of hinting, get rid of subpixel positioning, turn all of those things off and then re-import it. And I think that improves the quality of the pixel art, but I'm not sure. But yeah, there's a bunch of import options here. These are not like well documented at all. Like I don't know what any of this stuff is. So yeah, there's a whole world of font resources that we're gonna ignore for now. Apply 6 per reserve per allied ritual card. Heal 4 per adjacent minion. I'm going to try a fire build here. I actually don't think this is going to work, but let's put a skeleton on here just to be sure. Oh, maybe it is going to work. Okay, we're good. This one should be fine. We can grab an early artifact here. That would be nice. Okay. Grab an artifact. All ritual cards drop 1 tier higher. Gain 1 damage after you successful combat. This damage is applied to any minion if it is the only minion on the board. 25% lifesteal, but take 2 damage during combat. Well, I guess I'll take the ritual cards drop 1 tier higher. Maybe we could take advantage of that here. Relic, Alchemical, and Ritual. Ooh, I could get some really powerful cards from here. YOLO. Look at that. Oh my gosh, a tier 5 Corvid. We got a tier 5 Corvid, a tier 4 Scarab, tier 4 Lambone Ring. I'm going to put that on the board, get some sustain going. 11 turns of paralysis to 1 random enemy minion card. That is very strong. I think that's an alchemy candidate there. Okay, that ended up being very good. Okay. I need some money though, so let's go ahead and just get through this. Oh, this board is sustaining very well too. Oh man. That is a very powerful enemy combination. Anyway, I won though. I think I want a reagent, but I don't want to dip down to this one. I think what I'll do is I'll go this way. Grab these. There's a bunch of combat over here, which would be good for money. Actually, I'm going to sell the embalming fluid. And I do want to do the voodoo doll, the corvid, and the scarab. Oh, this is going to be good. Let's see what happens. And I got corvids. Really? Oh my gosh. I kind of got cheated right there. I got 2 corvids that are exactly the same, and then I got one that just deals 9 damage. How did that happen? 11 turns of paralysis is pretty strong, but dang, that was not the outcome that I wanted. Okay. Well, I just got rid of all those powerful cards for nothing. That's good. Dang RNG. This is a ridiculous board. It's a lamb with 2 muttons. Okay. I need some more gold. I need some more blood. We'll take the free one. Axe, Grimoire, Giant Squid. Do I want the Grimoire? I can take it. It's fine. We're good. Okay. So there's reagents here. Unfortunately, if I keep going this way, I would have to trigger the boss fight. And I don't necessarily want to do that yet. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go this way, take the 1 hit, and I'm going to go back up that way. So we'll just go ahead and grow the board. Let's do left. And then here, grab some reagents. Okay, a Death Orchid. Do I want the Death Orchid? Can I make room for it? We're going to get rid of the skeleton. Let's unlock those cells and put the corvid there. We'll grab the Death Orchid, the Amber, and the flint. Wait, I thought I removed... I thought I removed tier scaling from the reagents. Reagents are still dropping with upgraded tiers from reagent event. That's a bug. That is a bug. What a scam, Alchemy, seriously. What is this game developer doing? See what this does, though. That paralysis is really good. It's got 20 turns, so that is basically just like permanently paralyzed. That actually is really good. It's a good paralysis there. It's functionally an exhaust. There are more reagents up here. There's another booster here. There is a max health down here. However, that's going to put me too far away from this region. So what I think I'll do is, let's just go here. Take care of this. Might as well just clean up a bunch of these combats here. Yeah, I can hit these 3 things before the boss fight gets triggered, so that will work. Upgraded card. Oh, let's do this one, I suppose. All right, here we go. All right, this build is working well so far. I do want to do a final round of alchemy, but let me just get my last little bit of blood here. And then we're gonna do something with some of these cards here. I think I'll have like 20. Yeah, I have 20 now. Oh, it's gonna put me in the boss fight. Okay, we're in the boss fight. It looks like an easy boss board, so I still want to do this alchemy though. I might as well... Can I... I'm gonna put the... Do I want to put the Death Orchid in there? Will I be able to fit the squid? Yeah, so if I do the Death Orchid... Uh-oh. Oh, did I break this? Uh-oh, I broke something. I can't use the Death Orchid. Oops. Do I have errors here? Sequence contains no elements. Non-reagent input cards except... Oh. I'm just gonna fix this really quick while I'm thinking of it. The problem is the link min and max. These min and max functions throw an error if the sequence is empty, which I suppose makes sense. But yeah, that's just not ideal. Anyway. So I'm not going to be able to use my Death Orchid because the developer broke his game and doesn't know how to work on video games. Let's do this. We'll just do this. See what we get. Of course, I get the giant squid. 3 poison, 5 damage, deal 2x damage if there's an adjacent minion. 30% blind, 3 fire. That's a lot of poison right there. Oh, that's also a short turn cooldown. This one actually probably does more damage, and it has the same turn cooldown. So let's do this. Now the question is, am I going to be able to free up enough space for this guy? I don't think so. That sells for 4, that sells for 4. That's going to give me 19. If I get to 20, yeah, I can't unlock enough cells to use this guy. So we're just gonna see what we can do with this build here. I need some more money. Am I gonna lose now? Nope. Nope. I'm doing it. Oh, the boss got paralyzed. Oh, the boss got paralyzed. That helped. Nice. There we go. Now we got some money. I think I am just going to go ahead and spend all my money to try to fit this squid on here. I need 30 blood to do this. Is this going to sell for just one? Okay, we'll sell the grimoire then. Cool. Okay, give me just 1 second. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Let's go ahead and get this run going. What about a fire under the alchemy pot? Oh, that would be a good idea. Yeah, could definitely do something like that. Try an enchant here. Applies 10% blind to enemy cards if this card applies fire. Converts half of damage dealt to bleed. Immune to paralysis. Let's go ahead and enchant the giant squid with this blind. Okay. Gonna need to grab some more cards, fill out my backlog here. Contains paralysis and weapon cards. Let's get 4 of them. Couple of voodoo dolls and a plague mask. Iron Maiden. That is a good alchemizable one, I think. We'll put that one there. I'm trying to see if that blind is actually being applied. Yeah. Oh, I'm getting destroyed. Oh my gosh, I got destroyed. I need health. That's one of the problems that I have here. Okay. Go here. Wow, I'm getting destroyed. Oh my gosh, what is dealing so much damage to me? Maybe it's not that I'm taking a lot of damage. I think it's maybe I just don't have a whole lot of health. I don't know if I'm gonna win this one. Okay. That is a tough board. Anyway. How do you approach balancing encounters? Yeah, it's a tough thing to do. Basically, I just play test it myself and I try to take note of anything that stands out as either being too weak or too powerful. And in terms of the enemy encounters, I have like a heuristic system that scores, like it generates a score for how difficult the enemy board should be. And then the enemy board is generated in such a way that it roughly fits that difficulty. But the difficulty score thing is just a heuristic. It's not like tied to anything super specific. It's just a bunch of numbers that I tweaked and played with until I got something that felt challenging, appropriately challenging. So it's not really, unfortunately, with like balancing these kinds of games, I don't really think there's a science to it. It's more of like it is more of an art, I would say. It's more of like trying to judge what's appropriate, what's not. You know, another thing about balancing too is it's like there can be asymmetries, right, that are balanced. So if you think of a game like League of Legends, that's an asymmetric game, right? Every champion in that game has a different set of abilities and has different DPS, and they have, you know, different strengths and weaknesses. And so, you know, you could get in a situation where you've got like a hard counter, right, where there's a champion that you're facing that just completely wrecks you because their strengths completely outmatch your strengths, right? But the game is overall balanced. It's still competitive, even though it's asymmetrical, right? So there's that consideration too in games where it's like you may want something that is very powerful in certain situations, or you may want to generate an enemy board that is specifically designed to counter a certain player build, right? And that's not necessarily a problem, because what you're trying to do is give a challenge to the player that if they're paying attention, they'll be able to deal with. So if you're paying attention and you see an enemy board and you're like, oh, that enemy board is actually going to counter me hard, you can either reconfigure your build or you could just avoid that encounter, right? So that's the other tricky part of it, is like, just because an enemy board stomps my build, that doesn't necessarily mean that anything in that board was too overpowered. It doesn't necessarily mean that that something needs to be fixed there. So yeah, it's a little bit of a it's a little bit of a crapshoot, I guess you could say. You deal with a lot of RNG, so balancing looks tricky at odds. Yeah, wonder if some win rate calculation per encounter. Yeah, that could work. But again, that's not necessarily a problem, right? If there's an encounter type that players only win, you know, 20% of the time, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a problem, right? It could mean that, like, for instance, if I add like a mini boss event into the game and the mini boss is a relatively tough fight, and players keep trying it and keep failing, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a problem, right? So I guess, yeah, balancing is just a tricky thing. It's not entirely about just like, you know, going to a spreadsheet and making sure all the DPS values are aligned and everything. Anyway, I do unfortunately have to get going, so I'm not going to be able to finish this run, but that's okay, because I had a number of bugs anyway that kind of hampered my run. I was going to use that Death Orchid at one point, and that just didn't work. So fix bug with Death Orchid. But management data you can set, let's say counter should be 20%. Yeah, I may need to collect specific data about that in the future, but right now I'm having a reasonable amount of success just like testing it myself and tweaking things. And I've also been doing play tests to get player feedback. So if I need more data, I'll add more, but I think I'll be able to get away with just doing this, but we'll see. Anyway, that's going to be it for the stream today. Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you for being here. Always great to hang out and chat with you all. Please consider wishlisting Alchemortis on Steam if you haven't already. It's linked in the description below. You can also join the Discord. That is also in the description. And I've also got the Patreon and my Udemy courses linked below as well. So I hope you all have a great day. I will be back at it tomorrow at the usual time, 10 a.m. Eastern, so I hope to see you there. And yeah, enjoy your day and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.